Hello everyone, my name is Ronnie and welcome to Show Me How Dad. Today we're going to install a toilet. So your toilets come in different shapes and sizes. For the most part, you've got two bowl configurations. You either have a circular bowl or you have a oblong bowl. We chose to go with an oblong bowl. We just like the way the look and fit of those are. Typically, your more modern houses are going to have the oblong bowl. You don't see a whole lot of the circular bowls nowadays. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to unbox this. I'll kind of go over some of the parts that are included and what's not included. So this is your wax ring. We'll go over that in a minute, but most toilets nowadays come with a wax ring. That's for your sealant to the floor. These are going to be your bolt caps or covers. And you do get an installation guide. We don't need that, right guys? Now, I will warn you, as a whole, these toilet boxes are quite heavy. Be careful. You can hurt your back on one of these just trying to deadlift it. Definitely use a cart, a dolly of some sort when you're moving it around. Once you start pulling the parts out one by one, it's not too bad. They're still bulky and still fairly heavy, but together this box is a decent amount of weight. It can be moved, but just be careful. So the first thing we're going to see right here is the actual tank. Has all the mechanism already in it. You do not have to install that. I believe this is going to be the top to the tank. I was wrong, I'm sorry. This is the lid. This is the top to the tank, the lid to the tank. I should have known by the weight, the lid is porcelain as well, so it's going to have a decent amount of weight to it. And the last one you have is the base. The base is quite heavy. Be careful when you're lifting it out. Make sure you have a firm grip on it. Let me see if I can move the box so that you can see this. I'll pause the video here in a minute and clear all the packaging out so that we can work. No, you're not going to be able to see it quite yet, but that's it right there. So let me pause the video, clean out the working area, and then we'll get started. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is open this up. What I'm actually looking for, and I don't see yet, are the mounting bolts. I looked at the instructions. The instructions aren't real clear where the mounting bolts are. They may be in the wax ring box. So let's look here. There they are. So that's what I was looking for there, is those mounting bolts. So these are going to go down into your flange, and I'll move the camera in a minute and I'll show you the flange. But these will go down in the flange. And this is what the toilet base will set down on. And then you'll tighten the wing nuts. You tighten the wing nuts, and this basically holds the base of the toilet to the floor with the flange. Again, I'll move the camera in a minute. We'll get a bit more of a close-up view of it. I wanted to lay out kind of what you got going here. So you got your wax ring. You're going to have your mounting bolts that go into your flange. These are the caps that go over those. You have your base unit. You have your tank with your lid. This is basically a grommet or a gasket that sits between the base unit and the tank per the instructions. The next thing that is not included that you're going to need is a supply line. So the supply line connects to the water source coming from the wall to the base of the water tank. They don't supply these in the box. So you need to either keep the one off the existing toilet if you're replacing a toilet, or you'll need to go to a big box hardware store and buy one. I bought a new one. It was $6.50 at the orange store. So they're probably going to be roughly the same price anywhere you look. This one is a 20-inch, 7/8 inch. So you may have a different size. So take a look at your supply line coming out of the wall. Get an idea of what size it is before you go to the store. If you need to, take a picture. They're pretty good at helping you size those things. But you will need to buy a supply line. It's not supplied in the box. All right, so couple things happened off camera. Number one was gloves. I definitely recommend you use gloves. It cuts down on the ick factor. You can work faster. Obviously, we're dealing with human waste. You want to protect yourself. These are just Home Depot gloves. You can get them in the paint department. Number two is I cleaned up this ring here. This is your flange. And so there was a little bit of old wax here. So you want to clean up this surface. It's not going to be perfect. This is a 20-year-old house. So you're going to deal with a little bit of rust, and a little, it's not going to be a perfect situation, but your wax ring is going to smooth out and cover and create a seal and fill these little cracks. So I cleaned up this surface area, vacuumed out both of my channels here where my bolts are going to go. So let me show you how you're going to set these bolts in place. And then what we'll do is we'll put the wax ring on the base, and we'll lift the base up and set it down on these bolts and compress the wax ring. So I'm going in. I don't know if you guys can see that on the camera. These things are oblong. And so I'm turning it. See if I can do it left-handed so you can see it. I'm putting it in this direction and then turning it, if it'll let me turn. I'm turning as much as I can. It won't let me completely turn, but enough to where it's not going to come out now. You can work it out that way, work it in, and then turn it. We don't know exactly where we're going to be here yet, and that's fine. We can adjust these as we start to set the base down on it. So this one lets me completely turn, so that tells me there's probably something down in here that's obstructing it. But we've turned it enough that it's not going to come out. So just so you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want it to lock in place. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to kind of get a decent alignment straight across. I'm just eyeballing it right now because once we go to put the base on, that's when our final adjustment will come into play. Next, we've got the nut that we will spin down over this. Again, not super tight because we need to make some adjustments. Once we get it aligned, we can tighten it down. Be careful not to drop anything in the hole. You might want to keep a towel, something disposable, large rag of some sort, just from a safety standpoint so you don't drop a tool or a much needed bolt or nut. So I've just hand tightened these down here so that we can still make the adjustment. So next what we're going to do is we're going to install our wax ring. I'll go ahead and show you this right here. This is the step that we're going to be doing, step 3. We're going to be installing the wax ring onto the base. Then we're going to be setting the base straight down onto the 2 bolts. And then we're going to be tightening the wing nut. Another good reason for the gloves is the wax ring. It is quite tacky. You can buy additional wax rings if for some reason you feel like you've damaged this ring, or for some reason you set it in place and it's something has caused it to leak and you feel you need another ring. You can get these at the big box stores. So what you want to do is put this ring down over, and it's designed to fit. The diameter is such that there's not a lot of play in it. And you can use this same technique on an existing toilet. If for some reason you need to pull a toilet, I've heard countless stories of people paying plumbers hundreds of dollars to come, for whatever reason, pull the toilet and reset the toilet simply because people don't feel comfortable dealing with these wax rings. There's nothing magic about them. That is it. You just set it down over this flange right here. And like I said, the diameters are pretty universal. Pretty standard. You set it down there. There's a little, as you can tell, there's a little bit of play. Not a lot. This flange right here is going to go down into our hole. Be sure and remove your rag. You don't want to leave your drain hole clogged up. That could be messy. So what we need to do now, it does take some strength, is we need to, I'm going to press this down just a little bit, just so that we get it to where it doesn't, when we flip it over, it doesn't fall out. If you're dealing with an existing tank that you've removed and you're wanting to move back, obviously turning the whole tank upside down like this is going to be much more cumbersome, basically impossible, because the tank is going to be on the back of the base. You can take this and reverse it, and you can put this down in your flange. The problem is there's a little bit more play there, and you've got to hit directly into this, so there's more of a chance for error to where you squash this wax ring, you get off to the side. But again, you can buy another wax ring. They actually make a foam ring now that is replaceable, where you can pull it in and out, in and out. It's not a one-time use thing. So if you're watching this video and you're trying to reinstall an existing toilet that already has the base connected to the tank, and you can't flip it upside down like this, you can take this, put the flange put this flange into your floor flange, and you can press this wax here in just a little bit to keep it from moving side to side, and then you can set the tank down on it. The problem is the target practice to hit that hole is a little tougher than putting it here and then flipping it over onto a larger hole. But I have a feeling there may be more people trying to replace an existing, put back an existing toilet that had to be removed. Maybe you had to snake the drain. Maybe there was a leak. I mean, you know the reasons better than I do, but you had to pull the toilet and now you need to put the toilet back. The magic is the wax ring. You don't need to pay a plumber to do this. Like I said, put the ring down in there, set this down in there, check for leaks. And if you need to, you can go get a wax ring. Wax rings are not very expensive at all. Okay, so let's lift this up and set this down in here. And what we're going to be trying to do is get our bolts into these holes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it up. You're probably not going to be able to see this very well, but I'm going to lift this up. Make sure my wax ring doesn't fall off the bottom here. I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to eyeball straight down on the bolts and try to get the wax ring seated in the flange with the bolts lined up. If I'm way off, I'll have to come back out, set it down, adjust my bolts, and try again. I'm being careful not to chip the porcelain or the tiles. This is quite heavy. Make sure you have a good grip on it. Get my legs in proper position. What I'm looking for here is I'm looking for the bolts. There's one bolt. There's a second bolt. Now I'm aligning with the wall, trying to keep it in line with the wall. Now I'm pressing down and you can feel the wax ring being compressed and flattened out to create a seal. I'm also checking for levelness, any kind of rocking that you're going to feel when you sit down. Seems pretty level. My tile guy did a good job there. Okay, so the base is in. Wax ring is compressed. We won't know exactly if we got the right proper seal until we connect up the water, and so that'll be one of the last things. So hopefully we got a good seal there. I came straight down as much as I could, lined up my bolts. So the next step is to come in here and tighten your wing nuts up. Now, the instructions show a washer. They did not provide the washer for me. I really prefer a washer there. If I had not already discarded my old toilet, I would be getting the washer from them. I don't like the way that fits, so I'm gonna pause the video right here. I'm gonna go into my garage and I'm gonna get some washers. So it's the next day and I've gotten a washer. I've had to go to Home Depot, so I had to wait till the next day. There's the metal washer that's going to go down over that. Then you have a plastic washer that goes over the top of the metal washer that the cap clips on. Next, we're going to be installing the tank. The rubber grommet goes over the large hole, and then there is a smaller hole offset. You just press it on both fittings. Make sure that it's securely tightened. You're going to loosen these wing nuts and the washers and remove those. Set the tank on the base. Make sure that your rubber grommet is in the hole positioned properly. Now, what I recommend you do is you put both washers and both wing nuts on, and you alternate. You finger tighten them, and then you alternate tightening them up as equal as possible to keep your tank from being off kilter. So as my other one gets finger tight, then I will judge by feel. So the tank is on there. They recommend you test it with a level. I'm not sure if that shows up on camera, but we are level side to side. And I know you won't be able to see this, but we are level back to front. Hopefully this won't be too jarring. We are level back to front. Okay, next we're going to, the instructions show that we're going to be installing the seat. So if you can see, these are oblong shaped for a side to side, or you can turn them for a back to front adjustment. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your washer and your nut and come up from underneath. And again, you're going to finger tighten it until you get the other side finger tightened as well. Now, before you completely tighten it, you can align the lid where you think it best fits. You're going to need a flat blade screwdriver to get this tight enough to stay in place. Now you do not want to over tighten these because you're dealing with plastic. So I'm holding the nut by hand. The next thing we need to do is put some thread tape on the threads. There's not much threads here, or not many threads, maybe the proper way to say that. So it's a little difficult. Just do the best you can. I'll clean this up. Now, this is a copper pipe. I don't know if you can see this on the video, I think you can. This is a copper pipe coming out of the wall. It will bend, it will crimp quite easily. So again, I caution you against over tightening. You certainly want to tighten it down enough to where it doesn't leak, but it doesn't have to be super tight with the thread tape. You certainly would not want to bend that pipe, crimp it, or crease it. That would be quite a mess. Now there's a rubber grommet in here, so you don't need the thread tape here. And one thing I noticed, when you're doing water hoses, you're doing these types of hoses, supply lines, if you give it a little bit of a wiggle as you turn it, it's actually a little easier. You can tighten it down a little more. Again, we don't want to over tighten it. We don't want to use any kind of tools on this. This is a plastic fitting. I have had that fitting split before. Caused quite a bit of water damage. Okay, so we have our supply line in. We're mounted to the floor with a wax ring, and I think we are ready to turn the water on and let the tank fill. What I would recommend you do is turn the water on just a slight amount and check for leaks. I'm not seeing any leaks here. I'm not seeing any leaks here. I'm checking around the tank. So for no leaks, I'm going to increase the water pressure. And continue to check for leaks. A trick you can use, I'm not using it here, but a trick you can use is to take paper towels and place them around your toilet, and you can see the drips on the towel. It'll change colors and it'll help show you a drip sooner. Still checking for leaks. The tank is filling. All right, I'm pretty confident. I'm going to go ahead and turn it all the way open. The tank just cut itself off. You probably heard that. That's probably pretty, you don't have to go all the way to stop. You can tell when it's fully open. Okay, the next step is going to be to do a test flush and check for leaks around the base. So I'm going to kind of clean up my environment. So we're ready to do a test flush. I thought I would show you the paper towel technique I was telling you about. Trying not to make you too dizzy here. So around the rim here, I've got paper towels. And we're going to do a test flush. And we're looking for any discoloration in the paper towels. You check that side, I'll check this side. So that looks like that was a successful flush. Again, I'm not seeing any water on my paper towels. My floor is staying clean and dry. No drips around my hose, my supply line hose. No drips around the tank. I believe we have a successful toilet installation. Thank you for watching Show Me How Dad today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, will you please subscribe? And if you learned something, hammer that like button so the algorithm will find me and others can learn as well. Thank you. I appreciate it.